Just wanted to first quickly thank everybody for attending today. We're really excited about a new tool that we've put together, and I hope that you find this very informative and also maybe possibly an opportunity that we could actually add some value to your company. So just before we get started, tell you a little bit about production priorities. We've been in this business of, well, primarily just supporting scheduling software for many, many companies. And we've doing that about 10 years now. We focus in on just scheduling software and integrations to ERP systems and other database environments too as well. And we focus on KPI type of approaches so that we get a lot of value out of our solutions. So I'm going to start by just kind of introducing you to Planify today. And of course, what we're showing you here and this is our definition of an affordable, familiar, comprehensive production management solution that people want to use. Of course, you're going to have your opinion, and we certainly like to hear that. But as we go through this today, know this, after we're done, if you would like to do more investigation on the software, possibly do a proof of concept with your data, we're more than happy to do that. So let's start with the first question, why Planify? We needed to get together with a software that is better and easier scheduling. Scheduling software in general is very complex, and I think what you're going to do is see in our software that we've got a different approach to it that makes it easier. We need to be able to transition, and unfortunately, fortunately for us right now, most people are using spreadsheets to schedule. And why do they do that? Well, the ERP system scheduling isn't very good. These scheduling tools that they've tried or have used in the past don't get it done, or they're too hard to use. So everybody reverts back to spreadsheets, and to the tune of about 80 to 90% of manufacturers do that. They actually run in a spreadsheet format. All right. Now, another reason why we're doing this and why Planify is we need to have, if we're going to do something with a scheduling piece of software, it has to be accepted and it has to be widely adopted and wanted to be used by everybody. All right. Versus the silos or people that say, man, it's just not getting it done. It's too hard to use, et cetera. The software today that you're looking at requires very limited training. And you'll see that because it actually has a look and feel that's going to be familiar to you. With that, of course, if you do make an investment in this software, but by the way, it has a very low cost of ownership overall, you'll actually see that the risk of doing it is limited as well because, again, it's going to be a familiar environment. Switch gears a little bit here now. So let's go over some of the details of what we're going to be talking about today. In this software, we've got a user interface that should be, and it is, universally accepted. Of course, I'm kind of tipping my hand that it's involving a spreadsheet type of feel. All right, but we'll walk into the software and you'll be able to see that. But one of the main things you need to be able to do is, yes, it could be easy, but it's got to be comprehensive. It's got to be able to do job shop type scheduling. And that means, things break down, people don't show up, customers change their mind. And of course, the actual configuration of people, skills, and machines, and all kinds of outside operations, tooling, you name it. All of these things have to be scheduled, and it does in our software. In our case, there is no customization required. You'll be able to use it out of the box, of course, with data that comes from spreadsheets. All right. You can interactively, though, connect with an ERP system. If you have an ERP system and you're not happy with the scheduling, of course, we can pull that data. If you want to do a crawl, walk, and run, export the data from your ERP system and import it into our system via spreadsheet. It's not only can we import it, we can dynamically update through the spreadsheets, and I'm going to walk you through that as well. One of the other things that we want to do, and of course, you'll see how we do this, that we need to support the production meeting. Now, what I mean by that is that everybody has them and they go through all the scenarios. This customer needs their product. This one's running late. Material didn't show up. What do we do with this one? All these elements of your meeting have to be well supported. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to have that meeting and actually put that information that is being supplied by the meeting attendees and provide you with a schedule that's updated and not necessarily drive it right to the enterprise, but just through this meeting, an interface that allows you to do that. All right. And now another thing that we need to do, and it's probably an area, most companies have a production manager. Some of them have many, some of them have planners, et cetera. But that person is very knowledgeable. All right. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's because without him or her, it's a challenge to run your business because they know the skills of the people and the machines, capabilities, this product, this part number they're familiar with, they've done it before or something like that. So they're going to drive it to the right machines and the right people, and they're going to push people around all over the place, and they're going to make things happen so that we get on-time delivery, and they'll brute force it out the door. All right. So we're going to actually show you how we can support that production manager and eventually have him doing more, him or her, I should say, more value added capabilities as well. Now this software is a friendly piece of software, of course, but it is a multi-user, multi-site tool. So unlike the siloed spreadsheets that you might have for each department, or one spreadsheet that is unusually big and complicated, and only one person knows how to use that. We can actually do this all through one piece of software, but you can also manage the sites as well. You might even have different sites on the same in the same location for strategic reasons as well. Now, one of the big challenges of scheduling tools is that you may not have an estimate or time estimates that you feel comfortable that are going to be supported or good to use for a scheduling tool. Not a problem with our software, and we've got a strategy to help you with that too as well, to take you through a crawl, walk, and run phase. Of course, when we do at the beginning, we're just going to give a time estimate for the entire job and drive it through its process steps and get feedback from the floor so that we could get better estimates and drive better improvements and also on-time delivery. Now, one of the things, almost all software products now are in the cloud. All right. Well, most ERP systems aren't. All right. Or the installations of them. All right. So what we're doing is we have the option. We've given you the option because we know you want that. You want to be able to locally install it and integrate it to your ERP systems within your four walls or your enterprise internet applications, as well as you could, in fact, it could be in the cloud if you wanted to as well. Whichever way you prefer, we can do that. We've provided a full API tool set. And unlike many APIs that you may or may not have, and you may not even know application interface, is the ability to use them sometimes is limited. But you should know this about our software. We actually created our own software using the API toolset that you would have access to. And there's no cost for that API. You would get to be able to use that, integrate to other tools, use the data any way you want to, create dashboards, create company-wide intranets, if you will. And also, just so you have a feel for where we're coming from, AI, I know it's a very interesting topic, and it is truly capable of doing a lot of things. We have a strategy to wait for our customers to tell us what they need. We will have some conversational AI enablement, but right now we're waiting for our customers to tell us what they need. Now, with all that in mind, okay, the launch process. We have a launch process. It actually doesn't take very long. Usually it's in about 2 weeks, you get fully operational on our software. And of course, now the software cost itself, it's a lower cost product. It's not a big investment. And the folks here that have joined us today, if you have a partner afterwards and you want to talk to them, they'll actually be able to provide you the pricing of the software. Okay, last slide, and we'll get into the software. So this is some details or some details that may be helpful for you to understand that This is not your spreadsheet, and it's not your everyday scheduling tool. It looks like it's an everyday scheduling tool, but it's not. And you'll understand that by the fact that I can have multiple constraints. One operation could have the ability to need a machine, a person, a tool, and any other resources that's required in order to do that operation. So one operation can have as many of those as needed to make sure that we have a schedule, because every one of those has availability. They have a calendar for people, a tool may be out for getting done, fixed up, the machine breaks down. All of them have calendars associated with that. So it's important to be able to use all those resource calendars and calendar exceptions, if you will. Now, another thing that you may see or may have seen with tools out there is that scheduling, when it comes to multiple shifts, well, interesting. Most people or most companies have shifts now. And so what happens is, now, how do you schedule that? Well, most organizations or most software products and ERP systems have a thing, a concept of a work center. And so they put an hours of availability on that work center. Okay, so that's a one resource that's required. All right, so that resource is easy to schedule, not a problem. But what happens if I need a specific operator with a certain skill set and, well, they're not here today? Well, that means I might have to schedule to another person. I also have another person on the second shift and the third shift with all those capabilities too. True shift change planning is in our software. You can mass update very easy with our software. You might have already guessed we can export all the data out to a spreadsheet and import right back in. All right. You have what if planning with KPI feedback. So when you are doing that production meeting, you'll be able to kind of look through that and decide whether or not it's a good idea, all those changes we're making. Where it makes sense, you'll see some graphical capabilities in our software to give you visual thoughts as to why something's late, or it is late for that matter. We'll go through that, and also some Gantt chart views if you need them as well. You also can freeze jobs. In other words, let's say that we're happy with our schedule for the next couple of days, and we really don't want to move things around at all. You can freeze that in our software. You can freeze as long as you want to. So some people have weekly schedules they want to freeze. Now, of course, things happen, so you might need to change it along the way, but know that you can do that in our software. Now, another thing in our software is that we support the ability to have multiple levels, all right, like an indented structure within one work order. All right, so it can drive just like a multi-level, so you don't necessarily have to have separate work orders unless you want to, that are driving your sub-assemblies, etc. Now, you could have them as sub-assemblies, and then we also have a linking capability, so jobs can be linked. So if one moves out or late, it will actually move the linked jobs too as well out. All right. Now, another area in our software, we're going to give you some feedback, and that's on-time delivery probability. And you'll see that initially when we get into the software. It's not guessing, it's actually giving you some real data, some on-time probability. And of course, that has all of that information driving from the shop floor. So we have shop floor reporting coming through here too. If you like your ERP system from a shop floor reporting standpoint, you can use yours to update our software. Now, you might also have work that is recurring. We've got a thing called a template, so you can have all of your recurring parts in here. Or you might even have standard templates for the typical kind of work you do, where I bring it in and then I adjust for that one particular work or that customer. Now, of course, I already mentioned that we're multi-site, but remember that I'm multi-site planning, and I also have multi-user. So when a user is actually in a record and changing and updating that, there's a signal that's shown to everybody if there is an overlap that this guy has it or this person has it. We also give you a continuous improvement analytics, and that comes through the driving from the shop floor with deviation analysis, et cetera. And the other thing, the last thing I'm going to talk about right here is this thing called a matrix-enabled automatic assignment. So just like I mentioned, the production manager, right? So production manager is a really smart person in the business and very valuable because they know a lot. What we try to do is get that out of their head and bring it to our system so that we can actually drive some automatic scheduling for you. So if this person has that skill set, this machine has this capability, it will drive a schedule automatically. So that way Like I said, the project or the production manager can focus in on where they can add value to the business. All right, now what I'm going to do now is switch gears. I'm going to get into the software. I'm going to bring that up right here, and hopefully you can all see that. There it is, and it is, of course, as I described, and maybe you see that immediately. It does have a look and feel that probably is familiar to you. Now, some of the information it's showing may be also similar to what you're doing too as well, but just understand, this is like a spreadsheet, all right? And so if I move this around, drag this column around, I can actually do filters. So if I want to look at just maybe part one, where's that one? Or actually, I'm sorry, let me deselect all just like a spreadsheet. Go over here, part one, click on there. And you see now I'm only looking for all of my work orders with part one. And you could do by date, drive, you can drive any kind of parameters you want through here. And of course, then I can actually do and apply that ways, and that show you that too as well. You can see all the data across over here, just like you can. You could freeze your to the left over here, and you can see that I can see all the other data that's in there. Up here, you'll see that I've got the KPI data as I'm manipulating the schedule and changing the schedule. You can update and see how that's going to work for you from a future delivery and revenue characteristic as well. All right. So some of the colors that you're seeing right here, when it's green, that means it started. Okay, so we've received either feedback from our operation entry screens, which is out in the shop floor, and telling folks or giving folks the things that they should be doing for today, and they say they started or finished it, etc. So that's going to show green. Red ones are late, and you can see over here on the right how many days late. And also, by the way, you see over here, you can see the due date, you can see the estimated finish date for each one of those work orders, and also when we expect to start it. And there's more information over here too as well. But the other colors that we're seeing here too, like this, for instance, light blue color here. And by the way, I'm a little bit colorblind, so I think it's light blue, but that's showing you the fact that it's frozen. We froze those work orders so that they will not be scheduled any differently than they are right now. That, of course, is okay until we run out of time and we get into a point where it just has to start scheduling forward from there. And by the way, the answer to that question, the backward and forward scheduling, is over here. You can actually have by work order, whether it's backward or forward, or you can have them all the same if you want to as well. All right. Okay, so now some other colors are that were planned here. The ones that are the gray colors, they're all planned. So we've actually got them scheduled. Now you notice this one is in white over here. The reason it's not scheduled is because it's on hold. So I've got different statuses in here too. Unreleased. Unreleased could be used for a quoting characteristic. So we quoted it. We push it out. We give them an estimated delivery date for that quote, and then we put it in unreleased status. Unless they say we're going to give you the order, then I might put it in a firm status. All right, then it'll start scheduling. Unreleased will also keep it off the schedule, but you can actually enact it again, bring it into a firm status to get a current schedule for the date for the customer. And I've got released characteristics, and I can again sort out any one of those two as well. All right, so I'm going to go over to the right a little bit, and you see I've got other data too as well. In fact, the software is smart enough to also say, hey, the due date for this particular order is in April, and these some April ones, May, you see out in the future and into July. If I haven't, if I want to, I can actually tell it when it can get started. And that release date is this one right here. You might suggest that we don't want to get started on this one because the material is not going to be here. And that would actually come from your ERP system. It would drive that date and it would not allow it to start any sooner than that. It could even be driven right to the operation too as well. But also notice that there's a suggested start over here too. Know this, that we give you that as a suggestion. We're not requiring you to use the suggested date, but you can use that as a guide to when you should allow it to get released. All right. So in this case here, you notice this one here is at it's April 9th. Of course, we're set up now. We said, well, you might want to wait till the 28th. And you can make that change, by the way. Right here, you can just double click on here and make a date change on that and say we're going to make that the 28th. All right, so you can do those kind of changes on the fly. Again, very similar to a spreadsheet approach, and you can manipulate a lot of the data in here, almost all of that, right inside the sheet. So you don't have to go outside of the system. You can stay right in here. All right, so I'll go a little further over here to the right. And you've got some statuses. Of course, here's a completion status for the work order itself. And you notice it's got a percentage. This one's 5%. The rest of them, I don't have any data from them. And also at the end product that we're delivering, if I've completed quantities of that, that's what this status is for too as well. And I've got user defined fields, and I've got codes and characteristics all the way over here to the right too. So many of those things will be customized. I shouldn't say customized. You can change the name of any of those to make it so that you can have these mean something to you with these user-defined fields. Okay. All right. All right, so I'm going to take one other step here now. I'm going to go into this particular this particular work order, and I pull. If you notice, I just hit the arrow here. Okay, the arrow is showing me, and I'm going to click on this one too. What it's basically now showing you is the operations and all the other detail about this particular work order. So here are the steps. In this case, they're simply just operation 10, 20, 30. Okay. Over here to the right, you see I've got a predecessor. I'm just going to move it over here. You can see that I've got a predecessor characteristic over here. So before I can start operation 20, I need to have 10 done. Now you could change that on the fly or for that in the future, and you could say save there, and you could say, okay, well, in this case here, I'm going to do 10 and 20, so they run in parallel, if you will. And so that could happen too as well before I can do this operation. So you have full control as to how your process will flow. Okay, some naming characteristics, and I'm going to go back to these assignments in a moment. And I'm going to go over here to the right. Every one of these operations and operations for a particular work order have all of these characteristics. They've got a setup time, a run time, teardown time, move time, and of course outside services. And if you've got other characteristics, you can add there too as well. If I look at the setup time here, it's okay. This one is set up for 2 hours. And this is saying 60 minutes, and this one over here is 1 hour. So unlike many other programs, we've allowed you to have a time unit as to whatever is appropriate for you. All right. And you could simply just come in here and just say, okay, I'm going to do this in minutes, or I'm going to do it in hours. If I change it to hours, I can do 1.5 if you want to do hours. Whatever works for you, you can use hours or minutes here, or days for that matter too. Okay. Now, another thing in this one here, I went to the runtime area, is I also have a per load characteristic too. So let's say we have a process that I can only fit 10 of these things in there at one time. So an oven's a good example, a bath or something like that, cleaning area too as well. But you basically we're going to do is say how long is this going to be there and what load size. So if you got 100 pieces that need to go through there and they move in tens, that's how you would do that in there and how much time it would take you to do that. So I'm going to cancel that. All right, now another one over here. I don't have any data. This one I do have some data and I'll show it to you. What happens is this. Sometimes when it comes to operations, I have maybe a shelf life or a characteristic that says we need to start this operation within 15 minutes of the last previous operation, or it has to start a day after that, or it's going to be a min-max area too. So that move time, if you will, can be a min-max in here. All right, some really cool capabilities there. All right, now while I'm in here, just to show you, you can drive the schedule from here. So you can say, I'd rather have it start on the 23rd and say, okay. When I make that kind of change, obviously it notes it right here and it shows you that too as well. All right, so any of those kind of changes. So you can drive where you might want to start something for whatever reason, right? Okay, now I'm going to go back over here, but I'm going to take a different work order and look at it. Go to here, and I'm going to show you this particular operation, and this is the resources that are required. Now, many times companies have the need for a specialist that does the setup. All right, they come in and they do the setup, and then they go away, and the person who's running the machine comes in and monitors the machine. All right, so this is an example of that. And remember, this is one operation with all of these capabilities right in one. So it simplifies the approach for scheduling a multi-characteristic in one operation. So I can require a setup specialist. I tell them that I need them there for the setup. I need them also to come back and do the teardown. I don't need them there during the run time. I do need a machine. I need that for all aspects of this. All right, so that's telling you that. And in this case, it's needing an operator. All right, but I don't need it during the setup time right here. I do need it during the run. I do not need him there at the teardown. Now, another thing over here I might call a usage percentage. So this helps you when you have the scheduling of people across multiple machines. So one person can run multiple machines. If I put 50% here, that allows a parallel scheduling so that that person can run two machines. If I put 33%, they can run three. Again, that's how you can just put a percent there and will allow that to happen. Now, if you also have a need to say, I'd rather have one person or a different person run this, you notice that I've got three people within this group that have this capability, this skill set in order to do this. You notice now I've got some locks here, and one is highlighted. What I've told this might have been my supervisor or the production manager saying, hey, I'd rather have this operator do it. You notice it's got a lock on it. If I click two of these, it's going to pick one of them out of those two. The one that's available first is going to get that one. Again, if you want to drive it to one, you can do that too as well. Unlock it or lock it. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in the PowerPoint here is the ability to do multi-shift planning. Here is that and how it's set up. You either turn it on or off. That's it. It's that simple. And if I click in here, I've got two setup guys. And within my setup guys here is a first and second shift. So what happens is it's going to find the availability of the first one to do that start as soon as possible. And then as the shift changes, it will go to the next guy that's got that availability. You can have as many guys as you want to in here, people in there for that chaining capability. So that's the chaining characteristic. So as you can see, it's a rather robust characteristic to do one single operation, and it could be driving you in one operation usually means two or three in other systems. Again, we could do it all in one. Okay. Move this over a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and close this up. If I have a lot of these open, I just click this one, it closes them all up. Now, let's take our hat and put our production manager hat on right now. Okay, this customer right here said they need four. Okay, so we're going to make that adjustment for that quantity there. This particular one here, this one here, we need to move it up in priority. And we're going to drag it up here just by moving it up in priority. We're going to do it here. I just going to refresh something here. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to do that again. So if I wanted to, I'd take this one here, drag it up here. See what's happening is however I want to do, that's how you change the priority. Again, if you're in that production meeting, you can move stuff up and down. All right. You can make adjustments to the schedule. You can change the quantities here. Let's say I want to make this for 6. I want to make this one for 6 as well. Make all kinds of changes in here, and you're going to see the adjustments. And what I can do is do this thing called run on pretend. When I do that, it'll evaluate the schedule with all those characteristics we just updated. And there may be many of those too as well. And it'll provide you with some feedback. All right, so you notice the revenue for April didn't change, all right? And the revenue for May or June didn't change. And the lateness are the same. So the changes I made were actually good. They accommodated the customer requirements. We actually changed quantities and priorities. We could also change dates over here too as well. So again, what I'm doing is providing you an ability to make and have that production meeting, make all those adjustments and say, okay, guys, we all agree on this. All right, now I'll give you an example one here. Let's put this one here now. Let's move it all the way up to the top. All right, so I'm going to drop that in there and I'm going to again run that pretend schedule and let it see what happens now. All right, again, that didn't hurt us, so we've got some availability capacity out there too, so we're lucky that way. You can also undo what I did there, undo again what I did there, so you can actually get you're back to where you were as well. All right. So if I wanted this schedule to be active, just say run on active, and that makes it active for the entire team out there, and everybody's driving to that new schedule. All right. So how does that happen? How do we show this to the people on the floor? Well, here we start looking at how the software is designed to help you with a multi-user environment. I'm going to go over here. Now you notice I've got a shop floor area and I've got a planning area. Of course, we've got user characteristics within our software. So if you have user profiles that you can get in one or the other or multiple of these and the ability to edit, it's right in here. And I'll actually show you that too quickly while I'm chatting about it. Go into account. I'm going to bring it up into a different screen here. And of course, if I go into my user profiles, all right, here are my users. And of course, if I click on this one here, you can see how we can drive who can do what in here. Of course, I'm the account owner and I can do anything inside the software. Other people may not have that capability. You can see that in the case of John here, the only thing they have access to is the work order and operations. They can't edit anything. All right. So that would be similar to a shop floor folks as well. Again, those are characteristics that are going to be helpful for you too as well. Now I'm going to stay within this same tab right here. I'm going to go to this operations view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my cutoff saw here. Cutoff saw one here. And what happens is show you, this is all the work that's been scheduled for the this cutoff saw one, this one right here, okay? And what happens if I only want to look at release work, I can do that too as well. And we want to control that. That's what it's going to show you right now. If I were to say I want to bring in the cutting saw two, you can see that too. I can also say, let's bring in cutting saw. So I got 3 of these cutting saws. So if I go into cutting, okay, so if I go to cutting 3, this is all the work that's assigned across those particular machines as well, and people as well. So now what you can do here now is I can also come over here, and of course I can click on this one, and I can, if I've got the capabilities, in other words, the rights to do that, I have the ability to change certain details about this. So let's say I'm on the supervisor and I'm saying we usually have a scrap on this one, so I want to make 4 of these. All right. I can do that. So it's more than what's required, but we'll put one of those in inventory, or we also scrap a couple of those too as well. And I'll be able to drive that. I can also change the move time. I can change other characteristics about that any times. Let's say I don't agree with this time. You can actually change it right here. So I go 56 minutes is better. Again, if I have the rights, I can make those changes rather rapidly in here too as well. Now, next step in this process is to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get feedback from the shop floor. I've got 2 methods to do this. And of course, you also see that we've used a spreadsheet formula, a spreadsheet characteristic, even for the shop floor. All right. If you feel like you need a more phone related one, we can accommodate that too as well. But just for today, let's take a look at here. So I've got 2 things here. First of all, I'm in the cutting area. There is no setup time. All right, so it didn't show me anything as far as a requirement for setup, but I do have production characteristic. Now, if you prefer, and many companies do this, where they might have a timesheet that's floating around the shop floor, they can come in here, and at the end of the day, or sometime in the day, they can come in here and just put in when they started it and finished those operations. Come in here and actually show how many were completed, and if there was a deviated quantity or a scrap or some characteristic, I can have codes in here so I can drive continuous improvement and get feedback from the floor. Always doing that because I want to be able to see what my as built to see whether or not I did well. If I just simply want to come in here and just say start it, and I'm going to go back to use timer, I can just say start. Now, you notice it turned green. Well, that also communicated that's work order number 1003. Now, if I go over to this screen, you notice 1003 has turned green as well. So I get immediate feedback from the floor, but you also notice it's got a little updating thing going on here. So it's showing you that it's being worked on right now. So if I'm a planner, I don't need to go out on the floor. All right, if I'm a production manager, I don't need to, but I'm probably out there anyways, but you can get the information and see that right away. All right, so we'll go back over here. And now know this, when I am scheduling or I am a particular user out there, I'm cutting out here, I might be called off to do something else. I've got an emergency thing and they've got to go do something else. I just hit stop. That's all I have to do. Hit stop. And then I can go back and do something else. All right. I may log into a different one as well. But I can do that. And or I can come back later and say, hey, I'm ready to get started again. And let's say some time has passed and they've done one piece. All right. Again, that all will drive through here. And again, it will feed that data through the entire system so that the schedule is always updated. Okay. Now, let's take a look at one other element too. I'm going to bring up another screen. I'm going to show you that if I do have this data, of course, that data coming through, I can actually see that. And if I get feedback from the floor, like and this is when I'm in the area now that's showing that the transactions that took place on the shop floor. And you can see now this one had 0 good and 4 deviated. All right. And you notice there's a note down here. It was a dimensional deviation. Okay. Of course, these are up to you, these deviation types. And there's a noting area here too as well. So we can provide and get information back to the folks, maybe engineering, in this case is asking for engineering assistance, and of course rework as well. These messages can be sent to people, and actually if you give them access, they have the ability to see all that as they need to during the day, anytime, anywhere for that matter too as well. Okay. All right, so just a couple of other things too that I want to show you, and then we'll take questions if there are any. But let's go right here to back to the shop floor. One of the things I mentioned is the ability to do templates. So if you have standard products, if you will, you can store them in here too as well, and all their characteristics. Standard products or standard processes, all right? So if you have these, you can use these, and you can have as many as you want to. You can create work orders from them, or in case if it's an ERP system, we'll pull in data from there. Okay, let's come back over here and freeze. I want to freeze this one here. You just click on it and freeze that one. That's how you do it. That's how simple it is. You want to do this. You've also got the capability of showing check boxes. I can say from move down a little further from here down to here. All right, I want to freeze all those work orders. Freeze them all. Okay, I just did that. All right. So you can see that's what that checkbox is characteristic there too as well. I can also do mass deletes in here too. Of course, that is, with certain rights to do that too. So I could say, hey, those same ones, I want to delete them. You could say delete selected as well and do that. All right. Let's get a couple of just some other details within the admin section here. I'll quickly go in that. So I'm going to go into there and I'm going to show you that. I'm going to discard some of those changes. And I've got, let's quickly show you the resource management side of things. As I mentioned in here, I have a setup guy and I've got their hours that they work in here. All right. So you can adjust those too as well, the standard hours. You could import all those. You can also import the calendar exceptions of when they're here or not here at future vacations. We have a full way of getting that in very simply through a spreadsheet, or you can actually add them right here. I can add a new cut one right here as well. All right, reason codes, as I mentioned, you set them up and they're in here, and calendar exceptions, sites, characteristics as well. And if you go back to this planning side of things, and of course that is, well, I guess we're getting to a place now where I have gone through what I'd like to. Let me just make sure I did cover all the things that I wanted to cover today. Okay. I think I got everything. I think I did. Okay. All right. Well, I am ready for questions. If there are some, just please feel free. And there is one I can see here. Oh, okay. Application program interface. So in other words, that is the ability, and the question, and by the way, is what is your definition of API? API is a tool set that we provide. And in fact, I can show it to you. Let me just see if I can do that. Click on here. And if you can see our tool set here. It's if you have the ability and you know somebody that can support your company and wants to use our data, all right, or they want to update our data, this is our API. So it's a programming environment, all right. It's a Swagger type of product characteristic. I am not the guy to ask about it, but just know that if you need to interface it with other tools or pull data or push data, you can do that. Or if you want us to integrate with your ERP systems, we have dedicated, we've integrated to 37 different ERP systems out there. So hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions out there? Let's see. Whoops. I think that's it. Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is let me just go back over here to this piece here. And just going back quickly over what we covered today, hopefully you feel comfortable and understand our software well. And of course, it gets you to a place where you're scheduling easier, better, and transition you from whatever tools you're using now and that cost of ownership and limited risk characteristic, the ability to do these type of characteristics as well, universally accepted user interface. Of course, hopefully you feel the same way I do, and that it is and it will be very easy for you to transition over our software. And then, of course, these detailed characteristics that allowing you to schedule the most complex characteristics that you have out there. So I appreciate your time. If you do have questions, there is the ability to send an email after the meeting. Feel free to do that, and or work with your partner, with your Planify partner. And of course, we can help you in the future. We look forward to helping you in the future. And as I mentioned earlier, proof of concept is not out of the question. We do it all the time, so we'll be happy to do that. So thank you again for attending, and I appreciate all your time, and I look forward to hopefully helping you. Oh, I got one more question. Let me just see. Okay. Institute of Government. Okay, the question is mine. She uses American Petroleum Institute governing documents. I'm not sure what that is, so maybe after we're done today, feel free to reach out and we can learn more about possibly helping you too as well with that. Okay, folks. Well, I'm going to close the meeting up for today. Again, if you have any questions, you want us to have a specialized meeting just for you, just let us know. Appreciate your time and thank you and good scheduling.